I'm not for everyone, and I don't want to be for everyone. But if I hold back these parts of myself that are really strongly rooted in my values, then how can I truly attract the people I want to attract? So the question comes back, how can you start to share your beliefs, share your values, show all parts of you, release the shame? Welcome to Empower and Evolve, the vortex of growth that you have been looking for. I am your host, Kat Tanniberg. I'm a mindset coach for female leaders, and I am committed to helping you cultivate the mindset shifts that generate you wild success. Each episode, we explore ways to tap into your true potential. We face the shadows that hold you back, and we embrace the journey toward your most abundant life. If you love what you learn here today, then I invite you to share this episode with someone that needs to hear it. Right, it's time to plunge in. Welcome, my love. I'm excited for you to be here, and I'm excited to have this conversation. I was on a group coaching call last week. I'm in so many different programs and courses and spaces. I love learning. I'm sure you know this by now if you're a frequent listener of this podcast. And if you're new, welcome. I am obsessed with learning. I am consistently investing in myself through so many different ways. Anyway, coming back to this space, I'm inside a group container, which is all about energetics and the nervous system. And in there, we had our monthly group call. And the teacher said a statement that really has been ringing in my ears ever since. And that has made me think a lot. And the statement was, in order to truly attract, you need to be okay with also repelling. In order to attract, you have to repel. Let that sink in for a moment. In order to attract, you also have to repel. And this could be mapped across into so many different areas. Whether this is in business and really speaking to your ideal client, whether this is in relationships and really attracting the right relationships into your life, whether this is in your job, like this can be applied onto all these different areas. If you want to attract, you have to repel. So this made me think how often I see women especially, but men do it as well. I see this so much in my clients, and I see this so much in past versions of myself, where we change who we are. And most of the time we do this unconsciously. We change who we are in order to fit in. And this might show itself in many different ways, whether you are actually putting on a front when you're with certain people, acting in a way that you normally wouldn't act, like putting on a persona that you're not really, or it could also be played out in the way of holding back parts of yourself that you may be afraid that if you were to show them, it would push people away from you. And I believe this is super closely tied in with the abandonment wound and the fear of rejection. And this is probably one of the main reasons why this has been something that I have battled for most of my life. And sometimes slippery slope down this slope. And I am consciously making an effort to actually show all of me and to talk about topics that might be uncomfortable, to share my opinions that might be unconventional and polarizing. And through that, attract in the right people, the right friends, the right clients, you name it. Like I said, it can play out in so many different areas. And I see this especially so much with Canadians. So if you didn't know this, I live in Canada. I am not Canadian originally. I'm from Estonia. So coming from Europe, especially from Northeast Europe, I mean, like I was technically born in Russia, the Soviet Union. Like we're direct. And sometimes we can come across a bit too bold, it's a bit like fluffy enough. And Canadians are like the nicest people in the world. And if we were to kind of tie this back into some of the things that I've shared with you in the past and some of the work that Dr. Gabor Mate teaches around certain personality types and how that plays out in autoimmune diseases, etc. The whole front of always being nice. Canadians are so freaking nice and they're constantly sorry about everything. Sometimes it's really freaking hard and I just want to take the Canadian in front of me and just shake them and be like, just be yourself. It's okay to be like angry and it's okay to have emotions and it's okay to stand for what you believe in. You don't have to be so nice. Sorry, Canadians, I do love you. I mean, I've been here for a while and I'm not planning to leave, but sometimes it drives me nuts. And coming back to my personality, which is pretty bold, pretty upfront, the parts of me that make me a great leader, aka taking action, being direct, not fluffing around, taking initiative, being great at managing people, being efficient, like all these qualities, they make me a great leader and they can also make me a challenging employee. I've only ever once been fired from a job, and that was one of my first jobs here in Canada. I was still the feisty Eastern European. I was working as a waitress at a local beer house in Revelstoke when I was still living there. And I thought I was doing great. Like I was so efficient. I got so much done. The clients loved me. I made great sales. But I could tell that there were some other co-workers who weren't as efficient as I would like to say. Anyway, one day I come into work and the boss pulls me aside and fires me. It's literally, I was like, I was shocked. I was literally like, never been fired in my whole life. And he tells me that some of the other co-workers had a problem with my personality. Classical Canadians being too nice, and then comes the Eastern European, and they're like, whoa, we can't deal with that. She's not nice enough. Whoopsie daisy. Coming back to the story that we're originally talking about, this is how I see so many people, and I talk to a lot of my clients and even like people I know, and who sometimes find that they have gotten stuck in friend circles where when they spend time with their friends, they actually don't want to be there. Like they don't actually enjoy being around these people, and yet nothing is changing. And I do believe that it has a lot to do with the fact that we actually hold back from sharing our true selves because we are afraid to repel people. And this ties back into, the abandonment wound, the fear of rejection, but it also ties into we're social beings. And in generally, we have attachment styles where we want to be connected with other people. So the fear of losing that connection can make us do all sorts of things. So I totally get it. Logically, I can make lots of sense of this. And I've been there myself where, I've held back of showing all of me. And then I've played around with showing some of my beliefs and getting some backlash because people didn't agree with me, which, by the way, can we just agree to disagree with people? Like, can we agree to have different opinions and recognize that someone else can hold a different opinion and that they are more than allowed to do so, and that doesn't mean that we can't be friends? Like, can we just normalize this, please? Like, it's really something that blows my mind. And I just don't get it because the one time when I did share one of my really polarizing opinions, which funnily enough, like I don't necessarily believe to the same extent that I used to believe back then. Oh, we can change our beliefs. Anyway, I shared it and I got lots of backlash from people being like super negative against me and like coming down my throat. And it got me curious, being like, oh my God, do we really all have to have the same opinions? And how boring it would be when we would have the same opinions. Anyway, getting that negative response made me go back into hiding a little bit. And I started to again filter some of the things I was sharing with others because of my fear of judgment and my fear of abandonment. And abandonment is one of my core wounds. Most of my clients also have it because all of my clients are me. Yay. So this is something I am very familiar with working through from personal experience and from helping my clients. And yet, when I was back in Australia this year, one of the first days inside the training room, one evening, we all went around the room to share our polarizing opinions. And you could tell that people were very uncomfortable with it at first, the whole fear of like being ostracized and what are people going to think and not really being able to share all of you. And it was really interesting to see the group go around. And some of the most successful people in the group, like in the group, there were 7 millionaires. They didn't have a problem sharing their polarizing opinion. Like they were so comfortable sharing it out. And they actually had multiple polarizing opinions. And then we talked about it as well towards the end, being like successful people are not afraid to speak their truth and to say things that others may not agree with. And it made me think how, okay, if successful people have this in common, and if the general public has in common that we're dimming ourselves and, we're holding ourselves back, then could it be that the simple act of starting to own all parts of you and being able to hold your polarizing opinions and hold your truths and your values that you believe in and share them with others, could holding this be one of the key ingredients to success? And it's really kind of planted in my mind at that point. And then here I am on this call and she says, in order to attract, you have to repel. I'm like, this is it. This is it. And I've heard the saying before that if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, kind of deal, so that you're really clear on who you're speaking to. But quite often this whole sentence has been more like used in the realm of niche down. This is if in order to attract, you have to repel, really, in my opinion, shows that if you want to attract the people who truly resonate with you, who have the same beliefs and the same values as you need to show all of you, and you need to be okay but that by showing all of you, you're going to push certain people away. And I believe a big key to this and to be able to hold this and being okay with repelling people is actually learning to regulate your nervous system. When I had originally shared one of my polarizing opinions that got that huge backlash that then made me go and hide, I didn't have a very regulated nervous system. I had not yet gotten the skills that I have these days. And now, after being in the room and sharing my polarizing opinions, I ended up doing another post about this, sharing my polarizing opinion. And once again, I got a little bit of backlash from people. It's fair enough. People don't need to agree with me. That's totally cool. I have no problem with that. The curious thing this time was that even though when I, for the first time, read those comments, I noticed myself responding. Like I noticed my nervous system getting dysregulated. I noticed it straight away. And then I caught myself and I was like, okay, take a few deep breaths, take a moment, allow yourself to see this from this other person's point of view. Use your tools and come back into your body. So I did that. And I was able to respond to these people from a very loving place, being able to see their point of view, whilst also simultaneously being able to hold my point of view, which were very paradoxical in their nature, very opposites. And how cool is it that we can learn to actually hold these paradoxes where we know that both parts of the spectrum are equally true at the same time? Like, that's a freaking skill on its own. And then I was able to respond from a place of love. And after I did that, I felt so calm. And at the same time, I had so many messages from other people who really resonated with the topic. And ever since then, I have started to play around more with sharing these parts of myself and, really being more bold in how I take up space. And it's been really liberating. And I have noticed so many beautiful new people enter my realm, enter my world. And the conversations I've been having have been so much more magical. And this is the perfect proof that in order to attract, you have to repel. And I am okay with the fact that I have been losing followers. There's people who have unfriended me. I'm not for everyone, and I don't want to be for everyone. But if I hold back these parts of myself that are really strongly rooted in my values, then how can I truly attract the people I want to attract? So the question comes back, how can you start to share your beliefs, share your values, show all parts of you, release the shame for your differences, and allow yourself through that vulnerability, which it essentially is, because you're being vulnerable by sharing all of you, which you could potentially push people away, you could be ostracized. Like, that's vulnerable. So how can you use your vulnerability to allow yourself to be seen in all of you, and through that call in the people that are right for you? Because in order to attract, you also have to repel. I hope this really landed with you today, whenever you're listening to this. My short and sweet episode. If it resonated with you, share it with your friends, share it on your social media. If you have someone who is afraid to truly show themselves and allow themselves to be seen, share this episode with them. Who knows, maybe it's that little piece of nugget that they need to hear in order to truly own all of themselves. That's all. I love you. Thank you for joining me on the Empower and Evolve podcast. I hope that today's episode has sparked a new insight, or perhaps reminded you of your own power to manifest change. If you found value in our time together, I invite you to subscribe and share this podcast with someone who might need a little reminder of their own magical power. It would mean the world to me if you could take just 2 minutes to review the podcast and help it reach more people. And remember, the journey of transformation is ongoing. And sometimes the most powerful step that we can take is to simply pause, breathe, and realign with our deepest intention. Until next time.